Whenever you're really crying, the guru will come and will give you nice spiritual milk and lots and lots and lots of it until you are fulfilled for the amount of aspiration that you have within that moment. And then you will chew and digest and so on until you're ready to go again. Discipleship. It's a vast subject, and I want to give a little disclaimer first. This is a session for a bit more advanced practitioners. I'm not planning to give advertisement for why you should become a disciple of someone or something or whatever. This is rather a lecture that aims to address what to do if you know that you wish to be a disciple, to whomever you wish to be a disciple. But once that is becoming clear inside, a whole lot of questions arise that are usually not addressed because we are discussing about whether or not we should be disciples in the first place. Yeah. So usually our lectures around master-disciple relationship will be focusing on the master, right? And okay, how will I figure out how to find a master, if to have a master, isn't it a bit weird to have a master, how to not get engaged with an abusive master or with some charlatan or whatever. All very relevant questions. We will not address them today, just to be very clear. Instead, I wish to address some aspects that are, I feel, sometimes a little bit forgotten because we are so focused on the other part with the master. Now again, I perceive it in my world like sort of like on a timeline. If you are in the phase of your path where you're trying to figure out whether or not you wish to commit yourself to a certain master, to a certain path, to a certain lineage, to a certain practice, and so forth, then that is the time and space for you to figure that out, right? To address the whole question mark of what it means to find yourself a master, how to test the master, which is something that the Indians know to do and even recommend, to take a period to test your guru and to really see that he's the one that you wish to be with. All of that is sort of one phase of the path. Very important phase, please don't forget, it's very important. But then it follows another phase, which is the phase of, okay, now I know I have a master here, and now what? And typically, because we don't address the now what, we will tend to sort of carry over the search period to the, let's call it commitment period, or to the period where you actually assume discipleship. And what that does, with this little mix-up, what that does is it creates a lot of conflict within the disciple, within the student. And the biggest conflict, or let's say the biggest result of conflict, is usually doubt. Yeah, you will sort of stay in a question mark of search in front of the guru, in front of the master. And that will always give you a bit this unfortunate situation of grappling, of wrestling with whether or not you even want to be a disciple in the first place. So this lecture starts where you have made your choice. And this is already one of the very, very important points of what it actually means to shift from the stages of, trying out some new spiritual things, the spiritual tourism, how Uriel sometimes likes to put it, the stages of being a devotee, staying maybe a little longer in this ashram, a little longer with that teacher, trying out some little things, and more things, and then shifting towards discipleship. One of the big ingredients is to make a choice. And when that choice comes and you say, okay, this is it, I'm signing up, I am becoming a disciple. Then a whole nother universe unfolds, full of beauty and also full of challenges. We are placing this lecture here because we have been speaking about so many different saints and so many different masters within these Thursday lectures and also other lectures that we did before. And we noticed you all have a great love for it. So we thought you might be ready and actually appreciate such exploration into discipleship. I want in this lecture to address the subject from two viewpoints. Polar viewpoints, namely what to do and what not to do, in order to gain an understanding of how a discipleship can become more efficient and actually grow into what it is meant to be. So I wish to go sort of a little bit back and forth between to-dos and not to-dos. I'm not claiming for this list to be complete, not at all, but I just want to give you a few pointers to start with, and to also become aware of what is the particularity of the problem, of the situation that I'm trying to describe. One of the big changes that happens when we move from being a devotee, somebody flirting with the lineage or something like that, and then completely devoting myself as a disciple towards a path or towards a master, one of the big perspective changes is that now you are putting a completely new viewpoint towards this person in front of you, that master. Now the master is not just the teacher of your friend, the master to some, but becomes your master. Not as in the master of the house and the servants or something like that, but the master in a spiritual sense. And when this shift happens, the first thing that the Western mind goes to and thinks about is there's a hierarchy, there's a power dynamic, there's the master of the house, there's all of that going on. So even though, sure, it's a bit different because you don't go to the master and now, I don't know what, you get paid in a certain way and then you do as they say. But maybe even worse, maybe that's something that your parents worry about, you actually don't get paid and do all sorts of stuff that the master tells you to do, and end up washing the floors of the monastery or whatever your master is telling you to do. So that's even worse. It's even more cuckoo. It's like, okay, so they managed to put it into a frame where it's a master and servant, and then it's sort of spiritualized, and then it's sort of, so we will tend, with our viewpoint, with our socialization, the way that our culture is built, we will tend to read it in this way. And the problem with that is that we completely miss the point of what it actually means to have a master. And one of the big to-dos in order to achieve a more correct perspective is to become aware that what the master is bestowing continuously upon you is grace, which is a big difference between master-servant relationship, where there is the master bestows money and the servant does the job. And then we imagine in the Western mind, we canceled the money, so you just do the job, or you just follow this person, you do the practice they tell you, or whatever thing. No, the master is the one exhausting himself into that relationship. It's fine, there's nothing wrong with it, he's meant to do that. It is even sometimes put in this way, for example, in the viewpoint of the Hindu tradition, we have the concept of the Hiranyagarbha, or the golden embryo, which is the idea that our most profound aspiration awakens in the contact with the master. And as that golden embryonic reality inside of us awakens, that profound aspiration awakens, we start to eat. Because that's what an embryo does. It eats, it eats, it eats. And what is it eating? It's eating the master. What does that mean? It's eating the teachings, it's eating the grace, it's taking in everything that it can possibly have from the master. Many masters would even scold their disciples and say, you are not taking enough. I feel like a cow that doesn't get milked. You have to ask more, you have to demand, you have to challenge me. So I can give you, because of course the master is never allowed to give unless you ask, at least implicitly. So this is a very important point. Become aware of this completely different, or let's say added dimension to this particular human relationship, which is a dimension that says one of the two, namely the master in that relationship, is continuously offering grace without stopping, no matter what you do, no matter how you act, no matter in the moment the master-disciple relationship clicks in the moment, and you decide, in the moment you have decided, it says in the old scriptures, when the disciple is ready, the master appears. When you have decided, when you are ready, the master appears and he doesn't go away. One of the difficult parts of this relationship when thinking in regards of the ego. But actually, the reality that you are continuously receiving grace from this being that is fully committed to you, this is something that we tend to ignore, and that is absolutely essential in order to understand how the master-disciple relationship actually works. So it is not something that you give. You make a choice that you are ready to eat, like a little child, hungry. Yeah? The baby doesn't pay the mother. Yeah? It's not, excuse me, can I have an extra bottle of milk here on table 2? No. And the breast is in the mouth. Okay. Whenever you feel aspiration again, and the guru comes, like that. Whenever you're really crying, the guru will come and will give you nice spiritual milk, and lots and lots and lots of it, until you are fulfilled for the amount of aspiration that you have within that moment. And then you will chew and digest and so on until you're ready to go again. And by the way, like and subscribe and hit the bell wherever you are, and comment and let us know what you think and all the good things. A disciple becomes a disciple when he or she becomes aware of the continuous flow of grace from the master towards ourselves. And you can see that in some disciples that just clicked and they just got the point. Like the disciples of Vivekananda, they have a continuous understanding of his genius, of this immense genius that comes as a grace through him to his disciples. It makes a disciple of Vivekananda a disciple of Vivekananda, that disciple is aware all the time of the genius of Vivekananda. Otherwise, no disciple. Maybe somebody interested, but not a disciple. A disciple of Jesus. A disciple of Jesus is only a disciple of Jesus when is understanding continuously that man 2,000 years ago died on the cross as a sacrifice for me. For me. So my sins are forgiven. If you are not aware of that, you're not a disciple of Jesus. You're not receiving the grace because you're not aware of the grace. Yeah? So this is a very, very important part of the equation. Now, on the flip side of it, like I want to sort of present the do's and don'ts like this. So the first do was become aware of the grace that is coming your way all the time. This is what makes you a disciple. On the flip side of it, do not expect, first of all, do not expect anything and expect everything. This is a very good starting point. But do not expect very specifically to be helped in a very specific way, namely the way that your ego wants to be helped. It is not going to happen. And usually that makes the relationship between master and disciple difficult. Not so much that the master would mind that you don't receive the grace. What does the master mind? Of course, full of compassion, he or she will be like, all right, it would be better if you would open yourself because then you can receive. But on my side, it's fine. But for us, it is very painful because we miss out on the entirety of what that relationship is meant to be. In order to understand this point more, why not to expect to be helped in a very specific way? First things first, a real master, a real guru, only operates stimulated by the godly will, and not ever by any other point. The guru does not need the consent of your ego to help you, and it can lead to very strange situations where your soul is calling out for something and your ego is in the way of it. And this is not just something that happens with your guru. I'm 100% sure that you have experienced that just with yourself. Yeah, that your soul wants something, your soul is like, I want to practice, and the ego is like, no, we are sleeping. And the soul is like, oh. No, we are eating, and the soul is like, oh, no, we are interested in computer games, and the soul is like, yeah, so we do this with ourselves as well, and now it becomes externalized with the guru. And we say, please, yes, help me, give me the breast, but imagine the little baby, you stick the breast in the mouth, and the little baby is like, excuse me, this is too bitter, this is too sweet, did you have broccoli in the morning? I don't like this. Yeah, then the transfer cannot happen. The master does need the consent of your soul. And usually you gave that consent by entering a very specific, let's say, condition of being. When you pass a certain threshold of transformation, if you will, when you hit that threshold, you will be ready to be the disciple of that guru. And it has usually been decided already before you even came to the planet. And it does not matter what your ego has to say about this. And I know that it's not politically correct, it can be even traumatizing, it can be all sorts of things. Yes. So think very well if you want to develop to the higher levels of discipleship, if you want to go there, because it can become very, very, very challenging. It's very important to keep this in mind in order to also understand how a master might be manifesting towards you. Keep this in mind. Okay, my master is not at all dedicated to my ego whatsoever. Will not try to please my ego, will not try to speak in a way that my ego can understand, will not try to, serve any elements that are related to my ego. The master oftentimes, of course he or she sees the ego, but doesn't necessarily even react to it. It's just like, yeah, that thing, whatever. I can see your soul, I can see the depth of your being, this is what I'm communicating with. One, let's say, attitude that can help with this part of not expecting help in a specific way is to sort of, trust the experience of your soul. If your soul, if in the depth of your heart you have felt, this is the master, this is the path, it's going to be hard, but I'm deciding and I'm going for it. Trust you. Trust the choice that came from the depth of your being. Trust your clarity, your experience, right? That would be extremely meaningful and helpful in order to let's say, integrate this difficulty, this challenge that can arise. Mostly, things are happening anyways already, and just the more we resist the transformation through it, the more painful things will become. But if you made a choice in your heart, you can trust that choice. Then go for it and see what comes. Hey guys, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content on spirituality, Tantra and more.
And if you want to sign up for our online classes or for our retreats, you can see our website on the description below.